was outdated, and not everything we gained actually made women feel better. When we look back in 1980s, we did have fewer tools, less technology, and far fewer treatments. But we often practice with more restraint, more touch, and more respect for the skin as a living organ, not just a surface to correct. Over the years, aesthetic medicine evolved rapidly and in many ways, beautifully. But somewhere along the way, we replaced speed with patience, intervention with replaced education, and the visible results became more important than actually knowing what woman feels like in her skin. Today, many women arrive at medical spas asking for specific treatment or technology. But underneath that request, it's often a quiet thought: I don't recognize myself anymore. And in today's busy, result-oriented system, the inner signal is often missed, leaving women cycling through treatments without feeling truly satisfied or understood. So this conversation, it's not just a random trip down the memory lane. It's about asking what deserves to be left behind and what's probably worth bringing back, and how we move forward in a way that truly serves women, not just their reflection. I'm Dr. Natalya, and thank you for joining me on the other episode of Unveiled Radiance. Welcome to Unveiled Radiance. This is a podcast for women who are tired of surface-level beauty and anti-aging advice and ready for a real conversation. I'm Dr. Natalya Borakowski, naturopathic physician working in aesthetic medicine. Here we explore how skin, hormones, stress, and self-perception all interact so you can make sense of aging without fear, hype, or self-blame. Let's begin. Hello everyone. Today I'm joined by Shelley Hancock, an esthetician and educator who spent nearly 4 decades in beauty industry, long enough to have seen aesthetic medicine evolve from hands-on skincare and patient-oriented to a high-tech, fast-paced world we are navigating today. Shelley's career spans early days of aesthetics, the rise of devices, the advanced treatments, and ongoing conversations about what truly serves our clients, not just their skin, but their confidence, their well-being. She is known for blending practical expertise with curiosity, honesty, and for mentoring generations of professionals along the way. Welcome, Shelley. I feel so honored to have you on this podcast. We are so excited to hear about your experience. And let's just dive in, and please tell me in your own words, how did you see what happened to our aesthetic industry along the way from 1980s when you first started to now in 2025?
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have? That's a
As long as
lot
you
has
want. We can talk for hours. I'm okay with that.
a lot has changed. Um, yes, I got my license, went to school and got my license in 1988. And back then, a lot of people didn't even know what an esthetician was. In fact, interestingly enough, when I would say to people, "Oh, I'm an esthetician," they go, "Oh, that's really cool. You put people to sleep on surgeries." I'm like, "No, that would be an anesthesiologist."
Anesthesiologist. Oh, goodness. Interesting.
People didn't even know. I was blessed enough to have my first job in a dermatology office, um, where he had an esthetician. And that was actually back in 1987. And that was completely unheard of, to have an esthetician in your office back then.
Right.
And I was actually doing some computer work and working with the doctor and noticing this esthetician and the clients coming out of the room and giving her a big hug and saying, "Oh, I'll see you next month." You know, they were so excited to see her. And I'm like, what's her job and how do I get that job? And that's when I really first heard about an esthetician. And I went to school, quit the job, went to school. Um, you know, back in 1988 when we started, there was not equipment. There was a steamer. That was
Hmm.
it. And if you had aromatherapy in your steamer, you were high tech. That was it back
Yes.
then. And everything was what we call the European facial, right? The long, a lot of movements, hour and a half facials, a lot of a lot of physical work in these facials. And the clients were very relaxed and they looked nice afterwards, but not as big a changes as what we can do to somebody's skin now, right? And then in mid 90s, the microdermabrasion machine came along.
Hmm.
So everybody bought a microdermabrasion machine. Every client got a microdermabrasion treatment, whether they really needed it or not. It was just, we did it on everybody. At that time, I had my own spa, and I was working 1 day a week at a at a plastic surgeon's office doing microdermabrasion treatments. I would do between 14 and 16 a day, 15-minute appointments. I
Hmm.
would clean their face, microdermabrasion, 70% glycolic acid peel, neutralized sunscreen next for
Wow.
$250. I mean, it was so
Wow.
popular. This went on for 12 years. And then I think the biggest change started when Groupon and Living Social. Do you
Hmm.
remember that?
I do remember that. Yes. Hmm.
Yeah. My camera going a little wacky. Let's see if I can.
I think a little bit blinking, but it's okay. It's just, we
Okay.
can hear you perfectly, so we'll just keep rolling with it. Our clients will forgive us for little gremlins. We all living humans and we do have internet, and sometimes it just does not want to cooperate, and it's okay.
No worries. Well, I think what happened is back in the late 80s and 90s, clients never asked for discounts. They just came and paid what you were charging for things. And then everything became, how much of a discount can I get? How much of a discount I can get? And I actually at that point started to see a change in the estheticians because they
Hmm.
felt not so, what's the word I want to use here? Not so honored for what they did because everybody was just looking for a discount. And they
Hmm.
started treating people a little bit differently, which I thought was interesting because it's like, oh, they're just a discount client. I'm not going to give them my
Hmm.
all. And I thought that was really sad. So I actually went ahead and did the Groupon and the Living Socials because I wanted to kind of prove them wrong, that if you
Hmm.
treat that client just as well as anybody else, you can get that client in as a regular client. And I was able to do that. So I think it's,
Hmm.
you know, it's the whole mindset. Then the early 2000s is when equipment started coming along. That's when we really
Yes.
started getting equipment. And for me, I have such a passion about the equipment. I started buying up equipment all the way in the early 2000s, and it changed the way we did facials. For me, I actually stopped doing all the massage and kind of called them treatments versus facials because I was really
I see.
concentrating on changing the skin and not all the relaxation. Not that there's not a place for that, but
Hmm.
my focus and my passion was just on making some changes with all these pieces of equipment. And that's when everything just really took off. As far as these clients just going out and talking about you because they had never experienced anything like this before.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, let's see. What else?
So, what would be the most impactful piece of equipment you ever purchased? What do you think that creates
Oh,
the biggest lasting change in the skin?
that's a tough one because it really has changed over the years, and also that's like that old saying: you're asking me to, say which one of my children I like better, kind of
Yes,
thing.
I do, Shelley. You have to spit it out. Come on.
So let's go back to microdermabrasion. I'm actually
Let's do.
kind of against traditional microdermabrasion right now. A lot of it has to do with that's all I did in the 90s and the early 2000s. So a bit of boredom with it, right? And also the suction in microdermabrasion. As we get older, we don't really need that suction. And if done
Rightfully.
improperly, you could actually harm the skin with it. So
Absolutely.
years ago, I can't even remember when it was, about 2014, I created something called the DermaDisc that
Mm.
is the exact same tip on a microdermabrasion, but no suction, and it's on a
I
vibrating
see.
handpiece. So you can still get that same fabulous exfoliation, but without that suction. And so that's what I've been
Hmm.
using in treatment and selling to other estheticians for years. And
Hmm.
in fact, fun fact, I almost was this close to being on Shark Tank with it. I filled out the
Hmm.
information on their website. They actually called me. I was so excited and
My
surprised, and they
goodness,
interviewed me.
congratulations.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
yes.
was fun. They interviewed me and said, "Yes, we want you to go on to the next, level or whatever of getting on the show." And then they proceeded to send me this email with like 50 at least pages of information to fill out that was like
Oh, goodness.
they wanted to know everything about your life. And I just sat there and I thought about, I mean, I don't mind them knowing everything about my life. I just mean, and is this something that I really want to do for this piece of equipment? Nah, I'm doing fine with it with the estheticians. It was just an honor to have them say they wanted me to be on there with a piece of equipment that I created. So that was kind of cool.
I see. Yes, I mean,
Um,
it is super cool, and it's certainly the validation of your credibility and then your ingenuity of delivering something that you saw um, more of a mature skin was missing in the industry, and you did something like this. And at the same time, I would say from one woman to another, I do respect your decision because you made that choice of not entering that public space, not really stripping all the limitations of people, what they can see about your private life, and then creating the boundary and saying, you know what, I just don't want to enter that. And truthfully, I don't think a lot of people will actually have the courage to say no to Shark Tank. So
I know.
that was pretty cool. That was really
Yeah.
cool. But you know
Thank
what I find
you.
is so fascinating, because you and I, when it comes to aesthetic approach in the skincare, I would not necessarily say disagree, but we have different points of view, which makes this conversation even more exciting.
Okay.
Because me, I do miss facial massage. And I do believe there's a lot of medical necessities for facial massage. And I can get very nerdy with our patients, but instead I'm just going to blur very quick things. So as we go through menopause and our hormones decrease, specifically progesterone is the first hormone that drops down during the perimenopause, your microcirculation in your face decreases. So, of course, aggressively stimulating that circulation, like using vacuum suction, it can create injury to superficial capillaries, and that causes the annoying, we call it couperose, those blood vessels that nobody likes, and that
Yeah.
constant irritation in the skin, all this other stuff. So, yes, things like a hydrofacial, not to, throw the names out, but everybody knows what hydrofacial is, that should be approached with really careful assessment. Microdermabrasion, 100% agree, too aggressive for aging skin. 40 plus, not a good idea unless you have a really sun damaged, thick skin that doesn't need that aggressive exfoliation. Usually, terrible idea. So, using something more of a buffering agent like your device, brilliant idea. But with the decline of progesterone, we have a deficiency of microcirculation. So that means there's a lot of stagnation in the face. So that's why we get more puffy. We get this kind of like puffy eyes, dull complexion, just because of that normal, natural changes. So facial massage, besides the relaxation tool, it's a great tool into microcirculation. And I know now we have all those social media influencers talking about gua sha and all this stuff, which is great. But a lot of people also don't use those tools correctly. They go too aggressive on their face. So they're just taking this tool and they just scrub the heck out of the face, which, excuse my language, it's like throwing a grenade at your face. You really shouldn't do that either. So that's something I really feel that we are missing now in the aesthetic industry. It's more time, more hands-on with the patient. So, do you feel like you missing it yourself? Like having that slow flow massage and all those movements? It's so meditative to me in a way.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you about all of that. I think for me, it was just a preference of getting excited and getting into the pieces of equipment. But I definitely
Mhm.
don't disagree with you. I think it was because way back when, that's really the only tool we had was just our hands. And when you've
Yes.
been doing this a long time, your hands start to hurt after a while,
Oh,
you know.
that's
And so
true.
when the
That's
when
true.
the equipment came along and it was making the changes, that was exciting for me. But I think you're spot on with that. I really do. And there is definitely something to being said to relaxation making a change in our skin and the way our faces look. Because we all know the
Yes.
minute we get really stressed out, we eat improperly, the holidays and we're drinking and all that kind of stuff, our faces completely change. At least, I don't know. Do you feel the same way? Like,
100%. And then again, I
yeah.
can get very nerdy about this because we can talk about stress hormone cortisol. But the bottom line is cortisol eats your collagen. Just simple as that. So every
Oh,
time you feel like you're running on caffeine and you don't get enough sleep and you just, go, 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 take care of everyone else, at least for a second, take a deep breath and be selfish and think how many gray hairs and wrinkles is it costing you right now? And if you don't care, that's okay. It's okay. But most of us do care. And if that's enough to help you to slow down and take that yoga class or take a day off and don't feel guilty sitting on the couch, then this is my urge to you, ladies. Cortisol eats your collagen. Very simple.
that's huge. That's a big statement. But small but big. Like
Yes. Let's
that's
put
I
it on a
love that.
billboard. I'll put it on t-shirts.
Yeah,
Everybody need to know this. Love
yeah.
yourself, ladies. That's the whole main point of everything I'm trying to say. And then not in a selfish kind of way, but no guilt kind of way. And
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen it in your clinic too. How many women come to your clinic and they feel guilty because they booked that facial?
Oh,
And they want to kind of like sneak around, don't tell husband about this, and asking like, oh, when would I be done? They almost want a shorter treatment because they feel like they're robbing their everybody around them from that time that she's not present.
yeah. I I've
Yeah.
I'm no longer working on clients full time, but I can tell you from all the years that I did, that's exactly it. Oh, can you make it a little shorter? Hey, I got to get out of here. I've got to do this or I've got to do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
um, you can tell, like when they're laying there, their minds are going 50 miles an hour with everything they should be doing or need to be doing and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I think it makes a world of difference when we do take the time for ourselves. I think just in this few minutes of talking with you, I've decided that there needs to be more of a balance in the treatments of
Hmm.
the massage and relaxation and the high tech tools. Need to
Absolutely.
put them together, or
Absolutely.
have people come in a little more often and get one just complete relaxation massage, lymphatic, and then one with the equipment, as well.
Yes, yes. Essentially, what I try to deliver to every woman who cares to listen to me, either it's in the clinic or to a podcast or to read my book, it doesn't matter. But essentially, to teach her that self care is not selfish. I know, very cliche, very overused, but many of us look at skincare as something luxury, when in
Mhm.
reality is it's not a luxury. Your skin is the largest detox organ. And then many ancient medical areas like Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, skincare was part of medicine. There is a lot of health assessment done with how the skin look. And
Yeah.
I always want to tell women, relaxed, happy woman looks different. She might have wrinkles on her face, but she has that internal glow. And that's what we can cultivate during facials. We can help her to breathe through, to help to downgrade her nervous system, but it's still something that she should feel not guilty cultivating every day. And unfortunately, in our American society, that fast paced achieving society, women always feel that they're robbing someone if they're taking that time for themselves, and that's the biggest misconception and biggest fail that we unfortunately have here.
And I've come across many women that just think it's pure vanity.
Precisely, precisely.
Yeah.
And it's
Where
not,
where
it's not
really isn't.
vanity.
No, I'm gonna tell a quick story. This is probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago. A woman in her 70s came into me, and with her eyes down, the first thing she said is, "I never look at myself in the mirror. I just really don't like the way I look." And my
Oh,
heart, just in that moment, my heart.
heartbreaking.
And then
Yes.
she said, "My daughter is getting married in 6 weeks, and I kind of really want to feel comfortable that we're going to take the pictures and all that stuff." And I said, "You give me 6 weeks, come to me every week, use the home products I send home with you, and I think we got this covered for you." So she came every
Yes.
week, and every week I could just see a little bit of a change, a little bit of a change, not just, yes, in her skin, but in her sway, in her attitude. And
Hmm. Hmm.
oh, I'm getting chills just saying this. The day of the wedding, I got a text and it said, "Thank you so very much, Shelley. I feel so good in my skin today. I feel beautiful." And I was like, what a great thing. Look, I'm getting all teary eyed. That's crazy.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what a great thing to do for other women. That has nothing to do with vanity. That had to do with her
No.
inner self coming out.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you really preaching what the main reason why I enter aesthetic medicine in the first place. It's exactly those moments, the moments of really seeing that spark in the eye, to really seeing that woman, to looking in the mirror and truly fall in love with her skin and who she is. That's
Yeah.
really why we do this. We're not trying to fix wrinkles. We're not trying to fix imperfections. It's not about that. We're trying to cultivate that inner glow. And that does come from the woman herself, but it also comes from those little subtle moments that we can do in the treatment room and in the daily skincare. So let me ask you this very curious question, because I run into that situation in my clinic all the time. Women coming to clinic and asking for specific treatment. How do
Hmm.
you deal with women who saw some kind of advice, either it's on social media or on TV, and they say, well, I want to have that. And you're looking at her skin and thinking, God, no, this is going to be horrible. So, how would you approach this conversation?
I think sometimes we think the word authority is too strong. It's being bossy, it's being hardcore, but we are the authorities in skincare. And so we have to present ourselves that way to our clients and educate them. Just like if we went to our doctor and our doctor said, "Well, I think maybe it would be good if you did this, or you probably shouldn't do that." We're not going to feel very confident in our doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with
Mm-hmm.
us as estheticians. We need to use our authority and tell them what we feel is best for their skin and why we feel that it is.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
if they still really like, this is what I want, and you really feel like that's not the right thing, that's another one of those times when you need to give up getting the money for and not
Yes.
take them on as a client. It's integrity. It's
Yes.
it's all about integrity and mm, really knowing that we're giving the client the best for them, for the best outcome.
Yes. And I think that's a very important point there, because essentially that's what separates great practitioners from not so great practitioners. It's the one who is capable of saying no in most respectful, caring way. And all we urge is for women who do choose to come to clinic and they find the authority in skincare they trust, it's to really, truly, ultimately trust them. And don't trust Dr. Google, because yes, ChatGPT and Dr. Google still make mistakes, and your skin, it's still an individual organ with its own genetic makeup, with its own way it's been aging. It's, there's a lot of things that go into your skin. So yes, don't come there and just say, I need microdermabrasion, hydrofacial, whatever that technology is, and to really come in and more so ask question. I think my skin is experiencing this. What would be the best way to approach that? And I think that's really what cultivates the most long-term results, correct?
I agree. I very much so
Yeah.
agree. And kind of going with the thing is, we're not just dealing with the person's skin, we're dealing with emotions and all of that as well, right? Another story. I always teach, all my estheticians that follow me laugh at me because I always teach with stories, but in 38 years, you get a lot of stories.
Yeah, I
I
love the
had one
stories. Please do.
I had one client come in, very, very nice lady, and I did her first facial, all went well. She booked for another treatment. And when she came back in, well, there was this little spot here, and it's, just kind of little complaints, little complaints. I'm like, okay, so I made some changes, and she booked again. Next time she came in, well, and I saw a little spot here this time, and okay. By the fourth time she came in, I was feeling anxious. I thought, I can't please this woman. I don't know what to
Yes.
do. There was nothing wrong when she left there, right?
Mhm.
And so when she came in, I sat her down first and I just said, I really truly want the best for you. And I don't know if we're a match. So I've got some lovely other estheticians I know here in the area that I'd like to refer you out to. She got all teary eyed and she said, no, Shelley, I love you so much. She goes, I always do this. I sabotage things. And she ended up being a very, very long-term client and a really good client. But we have to do in this industry, we kind of do some of those kind of things as well.
We do.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I cannot again agree with you more. I think honest conversation and being transparent with your clients, it's the first step on the long-term relationship. But I always tell my patients when I used to do facial especially, and now even when I do injections, entering somebody's headspace is a sacred space. So you need to enter there with the best intentions. And if you don't, you really shouldn't be touching this person's head, because you will be delivering a lot of negative emotions and some prejudgments and some other negativity that this woman will absorb, and she will unfortunately carry it forward. And if she brings it into a clinic, you also don't need to absorb that, but you can address it. And
Yeah.
it is impossible to fix flaws that do not exist. So when you communicating with a client and the client points something that doesn't exist, you really need to have a courage to say, I'm sorry, but what you're referring to, it's really not there. What I can address is XYZ, but I cannot fix something. And I always joke with my patients, I don't have a magic fairy dust to just sprinkle on your face and fix it, because it's not fixable. Right. And when you lead with the honesty, I think that's really what creates the long lasting impact and, propagates the trust. Because those women who do pick themselves apart, they already know it and they're suffering
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
And if you help them to kind of cultivate and pull it out, that's the first step of healing.
Do you know, when we were chatting before, you had asked me what would be something that I'm not changing the subject, by the way. What
That's
you were just
okay. No,
saying
go ahead.
flows into this. Um, what advice would I give to new estheticians just coming out of school?
Yes. That was actually my next question. So perfect.
Was it? Okay, I'm
It
glad
was
you
my
joined.
next question. So go ahead.
Well, it goes right along with what you're saying, because to me, the biggest thing in our industry is connection. We
Yes.
can be, book smart, we can know all this stuff, but if we can't connect to that client, there's actually too many of us now in the industry, too many estheticians, every street, every corner, that
Mm-hmm.
if you can't build that connection where they're going to stay with you, they're going to go somewhere else. And
Mm-hmm.
again, another story. Years ago, when I had my big day spa, when estheticians would rent rooms, they could go in and decorate their room any way that they wanted to. And this one gal came in and she had on each wall probably 50 certificates from classes she took. I kid you not. I mean, you couldn't even see what color the paint on the wall was. There were so many
Wow.
certificates. I was intimidated. I'm like, oh my word, this girl really knows her stuff. Wow. But over the next few months, I watched her as she started to bring clients in, and she was very book smart. She'd done all the work about that. She could talk to them that way, but I never saw her connect with the clients. And after 3 months, she left because she couldn't build a business. So I watched that happen. And I always say I've never been the smartest, book smart esthetician, but what I did know how to do right off the bat was connect with people. And that's why I grew my business.
Yes.
Super
Yes.
important.
I think you definitely spot on because again, entering that head space, it's such a sacred space. So we do need to come there with the intention, connection, that love, and patients need, or clients need to feel that. And if they don't, if you don't help them to cultivate that self-love, you're right, they will leave. Not because you're providing a poor service, but because you're really not helping them to cultivate that self-love we talked about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
So
exactly.
let's get back and talk about different technologies, which I'm super fascinated to learn more about your disc, which is, it sounds like something we should definitely try in our clinic as well. What would be of a newer technologies that have entered aesthetic market in the last 10 years or so that you feel it's such a useless technology, or maybe overpriced technology that really doesn't belong in aesthetic medicine?
Ooh, that's a. If we're just talking about technologies, I don't know if there's a particular technology or modality that I can
Mhm.
say doesn't really belong. There's pieces of equipment, and I'm not one who likes to, like you mentioned a little earlier, I don't like to mention names. I've tried a lot of things. I have a graveyard of equipment out in my garage of things that didn't
Mhm. Let's
make the
talk
cut.
about your graveyard, Shirley. Yes, yes. Tell us all about it.
Oh goodness. Some of the little I love a good handheld unit. It's easy to sit in front of the TV and work on yourself. That's great. But there are so many of them out there now. And
Yes,
so many of them, I just call them Tonka toys. They're a lot of them are a waste of people's time and money. They're not really
I see.
doing anything. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so readily available to the public out there to get every piece of equipment for really inexpensive. Besides the fact of it maybe not working and not really doing anything, it's also scary because people can actually harm themselves with
Mm-hmm.
pieces of
Mm-hmm.
equipment as well. I think it's really
Yes.
important to have an esthetician who guides you on things to use at home, that you trust,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
things that they share with you to use. Um,
Yeah.
Back in the 90s, we didn't, the public couldn't go out and just buy every new piece of equipment that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And now they
Mm-hmm.
can.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes,
a
I
shame,
think I
isn't
know
it?
exactly what you're talking about. I think my biggest concern is when there are laser devices available, like there's a home laser devices for hair removal, and that's dangerous.
Yeah.
That can lead to permanent pigment damage. We call it hypopigmentation. So it's not every skin color should be holding this device, and
Yeah.
yet we have patients of every race and skin color buying this because again those devices sold without proper education, and sometimes those lasers misfire, sometimes they don't deliver the energy they're supposed to. It's one thing
Yeah.
when they undertreat, which is kind of half the problem because they become ineffective, but when they overtreat and then we're dealing with burns and other scarring and other complications. And since it's so easy to bring those devices overseas, they don't pass FDA approval, and then you just buy them on whatever random website, and then people think that they're just saving money. And we're
Yeah.
just talking about this because we just want to make more money, because we're all just greedy people that want to run our business. But
No.
ultimately it's just a plea to women to really think that the laser industry, it's a very powerful industry. There are powerful devices, and then most benign handheld home device, it's still a powerful laser device. So I definitely would not advise anyone to purchase it and use it at home.
I agree. Even some of the estheticians over the years, maybe they've been followers of me for a long time. Boy, this little camera today just doesn't want to behave.
It happens.
Um, um, Even if they've been following me and they trust me, still they look at that dollar sign with something they can get on one of these, websites, and the picture on the website looks like the same thing that I'm selling on my um, website. And I can't tell you how many times I've had an esthetician who knows me real well. They go ahead and they go for the cheaper, you know, one on, and then they get it and it's not anything like
Wow.
what I'm offering. And they call me and they go, Shelley, I can tell tail between the legs.
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
Or you just said something about people overdoing things. Something as simple as an eye unit, right? Which maybe 90 seconds around an eye, that's a very sensitive area. We don't need to spend a lot of time. I've had an esthetician call me and go, oh, my client took a picture this morning and sent it to me and her eyes are all puffy. And I said, okay, let's talk about this. How long did you do this eye treatment? Oh, I spent 5 minutes around each eye. 5 minutes is a long
Yes,
time
yes,
for a
yes, yes,
microcurrent heated unit around your eye. I'm like, oh, so we need structure, the estheticians and the public, because these
yes,
pieces of
yes.
equipment out there can be harmful.
Right. I think ultimately that's all boils down to we're missing education,
Ah,
both patients and practitioners. And not to say that we all have to get very nerdy and get back into the human anatomy and physiology books, but at least some of the basics should be reviewed regularly.
yeah,
Even the simplest thing that we talk in the beginning of this episode, that skincare is not vanity, because skin is living organ. It's still an organ. It doesn't
yeah.
change overnight. So if you do concern, like I will say, using the microcurrent treatment because you have, I don't know, a wedding to go to in a week, and you just want your eye area to be as smooth and plump and pretty as possible, so you go crazy with microcurrent unit because you're thinking, now I'm gonna do more and I'm going to get better results. But it doesn't work this way. It's similar to as you going to the gym and then decided to be in the best shape of your life in a week, and then just go work out for 3 hours, and then you just crawl, on your belly for the next week, and then completely destroyed, and it's definitely not in the best shape of your life, because the
Mm-hmm.
body needs respect, it needs consistency, it needs constant care. Which brings me to my final question, which I
Okay.
always love asking: what would be your kind of like a unique advice, either it's a skincare technology or modality, or even a habit advice you will give it to our audience, 40 plus women who are concerned with aging? What do you think that they should look into of maybe trying to either implement or continue doing in their skincare?
One of the things I've seen over the last, I don't know, maybe I'm going to say 20 years, is this: go get the facelift, go get the Botox, go get the fillers, but they don't do anything about the health of their skin.
Mhm.
So they're nice and tight and there's no movement on the face, but the skin is really unhealthy. I would personally, I would prefer to have just really healthy, glowing skin. And I'm 65, so I'm going to have wrinkles. I'm going to have movement on the face. But if my skin is very healthy, like I don't have any base makeup on, I don't wear base makeup.
Mhm.
I just
Mhm.
try to keep my skin as healthy as possible. I don't know, I just prefer that look. So let's concentrate a little bit more on the daily work of your skin, using good products that work for your skin, than just going to these appointments, for all these other procedures. And then
Mhm.
I just think happiness. I know that
Mhm.
seems so simple, but have you ever noticed on the days when you're happy,
You
you
just
glow and you
glow.
just look
Yes.
better? When you're having a rough
Uh-huh.
day, you don't look so good. So just the
No.
more we can bring happiness into our life.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Agree with all of that, 100%. That's precisely what I try to cultivate and then really try to deliver to every woman who cares to listen. And those sometimes women come to me and asking me a question, well, aren't you hypocritical? Because I do inject Botox for a living. This is what I do now, right? But yet, with every single woman that sits in my chair and get the Botox injections or filler injections or a laser treatment, I talk about the essential, the foundation, the skincare. And often, and so many women do overlook it because they just think it's sort of neglectful. They think it is vanity and waste of time and money. They think it's just we trying to oversell them on something. And
Mm.
my sort of analogy would be it's a trip to the dentist. I said, imagine if you're coming to me because you got a cavity. So I filled in your cavity, your tooth is healthy, but now you just refuse to brush your teeth until you see me next time. So
Yeah.
that's your visit to get
Mm.
Botox. Yes, it
Yeah.
paralyzes your muscle. So then your skin tightens and it gives you illusion of looking better. But in reality, it continues to age. It atrophies. It has a less blood flow, less circulation. And if you don't support that, at least you don't protect that beautiful living layer, and then don't cultivate that, obviously, the rest, the glow. And we talk about the importance of minimizing stress hormones because remember, cortisol eats your collagen. Then,
That's my new
yes,
mantra.
yeah, that would be one. I was already thinking I'm just gonna do the big billboard or something put in front of our clinic. Um, but ultimately, your daily care is the most important step. And for everyone who do not see the video of this, I'm gonna describe Shelley to you. She is stunning. She is glowing. So it doesn't matter whatever age she is, although she announced she's 65, she's to me absolutely ageless. Her
Mm.
skin is radiant. She does look like she has airbrush makeup on. So the fact that she has nothing on, it's incredible. And I think most estheticians, we don't wear makeup. We just walk around like this because the healthy skin already has that natural radiance to us, right? So, yes, ladies, cultivate your daily skincare and then turn skincare into the sort of happy ritual, not a chore, not a task. And when you create this happy ritual of whatever that thing could be, maybe you do some dry brushing with it, maybe it's a gua sha, maybe you give yourself a head massage, but you repeat it every day, you sending your body that grounding, relaxation, happiness vibes, and everything changes. And that's how you age in the radiant possible way and not necessarily need Botox or, all the other injections or facelift. It's okay if you do that. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with it. But
Exactly.
ultimately, remember the skin support and skincare is never optional.
Lovely.
All right. Let's finish with kind of a brief last message you want to give to our audience about you, how they can find you. I do have all your information. It will be there in
Okay.
comments, in the description of the this episode, so people can certainly reach out to you if they're interested to learn about your device, interested to connect with you. But now, you please tell us anything else you want to finish with.
Yeah, sure. So I'm just, oh, there goes that camera again. I'm just creating a new business called Aesthetic Success. That's the website, aestheticsuccess.com. And I'm really gearing it toward the students or people getting out of school and starting their own business. And on there, you can buy my newest book, which is called Aesthetic Success. And I'm also gathering all my trusted resources from the last 38 years, people that I've worked with for so many years that I truly trust. If you go on my website and you see them, they're going to be an ethical company. They're going to be, people that are going to really work with you, so that I've done all the legwork for you there.
Mhm.
And so I'd really love people to go on to that and check it out. We're just getting started. We've only got 4 or 5 resources on there, but we're building it as quickly as we can. Um, and then I think you can find me on YouTube without the last 38 years with every different hair color and hairstyle. I have so many videos on there. But it's been such an incredible journey, and I'm so excited to continue it.
Well, it's such a pleasure and joy to have you on this episode. I am certainly going to stay in touch. You are a beautiful ray of sunshine. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great, great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. If today's conversation gives you clarity or help you feel less alone in what you are experiencing, pause and notice that. You don't need more opinions. You need context. You can follow Unveiled Radiance wherever you listen to podcasts if you don't want to miss our future conversations. And if you want to explore this work more deeply, you will find my courses and my writing through unveilyou.life website. Until the next time, be gentle with yourself.